Good evening, welcome to this week's edition of CopaLoadofRacing, where we're going to look forward to tomorrow's card at Sandown and also we'll look at the Old Newton Cup at Haydock. And there's racing at Ayr on Sunday, it's their big family day. They're also racing there on Monday. This is the start of when they literally race it every Monday afternoon from now right through to August. There's a couple of Mondays that they maybe miss out, but they are certainly racing Sunday and Monday this week coming up. There's one race there at Ayr. The decks are already out for it, so I'll look at that race. It's not a big field handicap, but it's a very intriguing one at that to have a wee bet on. That's for sure. Now, this week in racing, we've seen racing at Hamilton Monday night, Tuesday. I was there actually at Hamilton Monday night for CopaLoadofRacing, and it was a decent enough crowd, beautiful night. But Monday nights, I suppose it's the second year for that particular meeting, and it's maybe still to hit through to the racing public. But in saying that, a lot of the race nights, they're themed, Saints and Sinners night, Braveheart night, and they've got maybe a particularly big race on the card. Lanark Bell, for example, in August, I've got that night. You've got the Friday night meeting at Fair Friday, which is going to be coming up this Friday. And when you've got the Scottish Sprint, Scottish Stewards Cup, and you've also got the Glasgow Stakes. And so there's big selling points there at Ladies' Night. So this one, Monday night race night, it's hard to, when you've got some decent. I mean, the prize money was good, but there was no real big field handicaps, big fields in the race. I think even the last race it ended up there was 7 runners rather than the 8, and that's frustrating, I'm sure, for Hamilton. You sometimes think that some trainers might target Hamilton because they expect maybe to be a bit more cut in the ground. So the fact that it's fast ground all across the country at the moment because of this good weather that we've been having of late, that if there was some rain there, then loads of trainers would be going, right, let's go up to Hamilton because there's some juice in the ground up there. But that because the Tuesday card following it was reasonable. And then we had racing at Musselburgh on Wednesday and then Perth on Thursday. Brian Hughes did very well at Perth on Thursday, although he had a really nasty fall, but he came up back from that, not a problem. But yeah, Musselburgh, more on that. I was actually reading Mark Johnson's magazine there, the Kingsley Clarion, this week that arrived in the post. And he was kind of highlighting what I was saying last week about doubts about Jockey Club and ARC taking over it, particularly at ARC. I'm not that keen on that idea at all, as Mark had highlighted in his magazine, about the fact that some of their racecourses that they operate are way down the list in how feedback from people that go there, from owners, trainers, how hospitable they are as such. So I wouldn't be keen on that idea at all. And as Mark had highlighted, and as I've said a few times myself, it's been superbly run. So I would just keep it the way it is. It's because it's just a fantastic place to go racing. But anyway, as I say, I'll look at Ayr in a moment. But let's get started on the racing at Sandown tomorrow. Going to look at 3 races including the Eclipse. We'll get to that in a moment, but the first one's the Coral Charge, a Group 3 sprint over the 5 furlongs there. Now this is the race that Batash won last year very impressively under Dana Neal, I remember. And now Hamdan has the Hamdan colours seem to be quite prominent now in sprints if you think back to the Commonwealth Cup as well. But Muthmere, who won last time out at Haydock in a listed race, I'm sure it was, is back here over 5 furlongs to contest this in similar ground, and I would say that going with that, I would say that he has a good chance again with Muthmere to follow up that victory. It's a decent Group 3. To say that it's not, you know, sometimes you get a Group 3 and you think, well, I could even pass off as a Group 2, but sometimes you get a Group 3 and you say, well, that's really listed standard. But, you know, there is, you know, you've got the likes of Mercer in here, who's shown in the past real class. But Muthmere has been a horse that I've followed for a while. I backed it last time out when it won at Haydock, so I would be keen to follow up on it here again to run well. I always find that the Sandown 5 furlong track is, they all of course try to get onto the rail and they all pull to the one side, and then you get a lot of hard luck stories in some of their sprint races there, and that might be the case for Trixie Spirit, who I had brought up a few weeks ago when it was running at Ayr and the Fillies Stakes there, the Fillies race over, I think it was over the Quick 5 at Ayr as well. I didn't run a race at all for Mick Channon, but the last time out at Sandown, in the 5 furlong sprint for 3-year-olds, which this horse is, she ran a blinder and was just unlucky, I thought, and really if it got the run, got trouble in running, as I said, this can happen at Sandown. And Hadaf, who won that day, is in this race, reopposes again tomorrow, sorry. And Hadaf is 6-1 currently, whereas Trixie Spirit is a big 33-1. And you think it's only maybe Trixie Spirit's poor performance at Ayr that's made that price drift out. But I've got a sneaky feeling back at Sandown on quick ground again, likes good ground, that this might bring back out the best in this horse to run another good race back at Sandown. You sometimes get horses like that like that 5 furlong trip at Sandown, and Trixie Spirit at a big price. Now at the moment we've got 10 runners, and if that stays the way, then I think it's worth a wee each way punt, Trixie Spirit. Now I've not got the draw here on here, but I think Mick Channon wouldn't be sending this horse there if didn't think it had a decent enough chance. As I say, it's not the strongest of Group 3 races. Muthmere, as I say, I wouldn't put you off backing that to win the race, but I think Trixie Spirit has a real good shout at an each way price. In fact, I can tell you it's drawn 10 in the race, so you know, if it can get tucked in, then there's always an opportunity there, and I think, as I say, that it has a decent enough shout. John Egan back on board again for Mick Channon, and it has as I say, 33-1. You know, it's a big price, but let's see. Moving on to one of the Coral Challenge, the big handicap race on the card, over a mile. Now, I was having a real good think about this race earlier on today, and now Chief of Chiefs is a horse that I backed previously for Charlie Fellows. It's ran last twice at Sandown, one back in May there on soft ground, it has to be said, under Richard Kingscote. Came back to Sandown again back in mid-June, and finished 4th in a decent enough handicap on better ground. Now, I like this horse, I really do. I think it's going in the right direction. My worry is about the ground. Is it a horse that does like a bit of cutting the ground? It's not going to get that unless we get some big heavy showers in Sandown. I don't know, I'm away up here in Ayrshire. I'm not akin to what's happening down in Elstree at Sandown and how that weather is, but I'm under the impression that there has been some lively showers down in the south east corner of the UK, but you know, the heat that we've been having, particularly down there, would suggest that it's still going to be quickish ground. So that's my wee concern about Chief of Chiefs. His market is right up there near the head of the market. The one other horse that I do like at a bigger price is Rum Runner for Richard Hannon Jr. Holly Doyle takes the ride here, and it's right at the bottom of the handicap. Now, at the moment, again, there's 16 runners in this race, so that's your first 4 places called for. Might be more with some other bookmakers check with each of them before you have a bet, particularly if there is going to be any non-runners declared tomorrow morning. But Rum Runner, who won last time out at Sandown in a Class 3 handicap, obviously stepping up now. But Richard Hannon Jr.'s had a few decent priced winners. We had one last night at Newbury, I think it was at Litsby Avenue under D'Souza. So the stable's not, it's not unusual for them to send out a horse with a decent profile, and it's been it's only had 2 runs this season, as I say, at Sandown and Haydock. One seems to like Sandown because it won under Sean Levy there back in September last year as well. So it's as I say with Trixie Spirit, sometimes you get horses for courses, as they say, but I think Rum Runner at a bigger price might do well. Now let's get on to the Eclipse, the first Group 1, where the 3-year-olds generation comes up and meets their elders, and we were really all, of course, looking forward to Massar, the Derby winner, taking on the likes of some of the older horses here. Although, in saying that, apart from the likes of your Forest Ranger and Hawkbill and so on, it was predominantly going to be made up with 3-year-olds, with Saxon Warrior coming into the race. That was supplemented by the Coolmore team, which was great, fantastic. It's great to have them falling close up after disappointment in the Irish Derby, obviously. But we obviously know now that Massar's not going to run in the race. They discover some heat in its leg, and due to that, obviously 24 hours before the race, they're not going to take a chance with it, and they'll leave it to another race, whether they'll look at the King George or whether they'll look at the Juddmonte at York. We'll wait and see. Yeah, Massar's out the race, which is a big disappointment, which makes now Roaring Lion the 11-8 favourite. The winner of the Dante finished 3rd in the Derby, of course, as well. Will love the ground. Back down to 10 furlongs as well will suit, I'm sure. But I think it also suits Saxon Warrior to step back and trip as well. Now Ryan Moore doesn't take the ride. Donica O'Brien's going to be on board tomorrow. Ryan's away over to the US to ride for Coolmore. Is there anything in that? I don't really think so. Ryan's won Eclipses, so I don't. It's not to say that he's dismissive of it, but it's not as if Saxon Warrior is any cert. Of course, it's not. There's holes there in the form. It's people thought it would win at the Curragh after the disappointment of Epsom, and it didn't happen. So for that reason, there's still suggestions that it's not going to perform up to standard come tomorrow in the Eclipse. But we shall see. Back 2 furlongs shorter than the Derby trip at both over at Curragh and Epsom, of course. Different track than Epsom, although the Curragh is is much more of a suited track than Epsom. But I've seen it before with Aidan O'Brien. He manages to take that chance and it comes off. And I think that it's disappointing in the other sense that with the other horse that I was going to look at, that we're now down to 7 runners, so the each way pot is now down to 2, the first 2. And Forest Ranger for Richard Fahey has been in superb form this season. Last season the horse never really fired at all, but as he's getting older he seems to be improving. Won at Newmarket, of course, back in April in a Group 3, stepped up, won a Group 2 at Chester, of course, and now he's going to try and go and step up and win a Group 1. And it's not as if he's won these races by any luck or anything. He seems to get on really well with Tony Hamilton, who's ridden him to those 2 successes this season, and I think he has a chance. When I looked at it obviously earlier today when Massar in the market, he was 14-1, and I thought it was a great each way punt. He's now down to 9-1, But if you're really seriously thinking, well, I really think they turn around for Saxon Warrior, coming into a race like that. Forest Rangers had a nice wee break, just roughly about 2 months break. Could come into this really rip-roaring form. Love the ground, I think. Has a real good chance, I think, for Forest Ranger, as I say, at 9-1. So that's my thoughts on Sandown. Looking at Haydock Park, we've got the Newton Cup. A great wee heritage handicap. This is a heritage handicap, but it's a handicap anyway. Over the extended 1 mile and 3 furlongs. Now there's 3 horses I'm going to highlight here. 2 of them are Mark Johnson horses. Sophia's Rock, De Souza's on board. Always a positive when the Brazilians there. Disappointment tonight, obviously his team going out of the World Cup, but he's a superb jockey. Sophia's Rock's fluctuated in form in some respects, but then came back to form when winning last time out. Sophia's Rock, when winning at Windsor, no sorry, I do apologise, it won at Newmarket, it won at Haydock and then came back and won at Windsor, second at Windsor. I think maybe some of this has been partaken obviously during the football when it's starting to have a wee effect up there, but it does run well at Haydock. Johnson horses are always quickly turned out, and there's no difference here for Sophia's Rock. Had a plethora of different jockeys on board it. Tomorrow Sylvester's on it, having seen the likes of PJ McDonald, Richard Kingscote, Adam Kirby and Franny Norton all run aboard it. Jim Crowley I think's one on it as well. Ryan Moore's one on this horse as well. But yeah, I think it's in with a chance. Still off a decent mark, and this is a race that Mark Johnson always targets years gone by. So I think that has one that's progressing up from the Johnson stable. I think is Rainbow Rebel, who won at Pontefract last time out. Will love the ground. Has progressed up. I was unlucky, I felt, with Chelmsford at a bigger price the race before that, but bounced out again quickly. Only 3 or 4 days later, actually, when it went out and won at Ponty after that. So, as I say, Mark Johnson always quickly turns around his horses, and he's creeping up. That's it, up in class, and obviously Mark feels that, winning class 3, this is a class 2 of course, and it's one of the most competitive handicaps over this trip of the year. Has certainly got a chance there. Wouldn't put you off Rainbow Rebel at a bigger price. And the other one that I'll pick out was one that I backed at York when it won last time out, and that was Society Red for Richard Fahey. Won at York back just under a month ago there, and under Paul Hannigan, and who takes a ride again tomorrow. And I thought it was very impressive, and it was a decent price. I think it was, what was it, 7-1 when it won at York last time out, and really won it at like I wouldn't say an odds-on shot, but won pretty well to say that it had something in hand. Okay, the handicappers had a look at that and thought, right, I've got you marked. But I think it's not still inconceivable for him to run he's not went up big massively in there, and I still think the form he's shown, the trip, I don't think it's a step up in trip a bit, but the way he won at York, I don't think that was something that you would say, 10 furlongs which he won over at York is his minimum, or his maximum, sorry. But I do think he's in with a decent shout there. Society Red for the Fahey team. So a bit of a Yorkshire feel there to those 2 tips there. So, quick, as I said, I would flag up one race at Ayr on Sunday. Family fun day if you're wanting something to do. The weather's going to be nice. We know that now. So if you're looking for something to do on Sunday, lots on offer. Good chance to go along to Ayr. Take the kids. It's brilliant. Now, one race there is the 405, this Class 3 handicap over a mile. Now, Nicholas T's in there, who disappointed last time out at Ayr. Really did massively disappointed last time out at Ayr. He'd shown a bit of form prior to that at Redcar, and I thought coming on to it he would do well at Ayr. Didn't work out that way. But one horse that really impressed, I thought, big horse, this Ventura Knight that won at Hamilton on Tuesday. Right big beast of a horse. And I think, having really not shown anything at Royal Ascot, but does like the rattling quick ground for a big horse, Ventura Knight surely has a real good chance. The other one that might also show up pretty well is Dark Prophet. I think that might be the one that lays down the challenge rather than Nicholas T to Ventura Knight. Won well at Musselburgh back in September, and this is its first run of the season. And as I say, it does like the good ground, and for whatever reason they've been waiting to bring it out here, and under this one for Keith Dalglish team. This Dark Prophet, as I say, they maybe been waiting for really good ground, there maybe been a problem, but anyway, it's back in there, and this level of handicap is something that is more than achievable for him, I would say, even though when he last run in a Class 3 finished last, but that was in soft ground, and as I say, it'll be better ground at Ayr on Sunday. Okay, so if you're off to Ayr on Sunday, on Monday, have a good one. Hamilton, as I say, is next Friday night, and then I think they've got a meeting on the Saturday. They're one of their big days. So get along to any of those if you can. Enjoy your racing tomorrow. I know the football's on, that's why again some of the racing starting earlier, so the cards at Sandown and Haydock, the big races, are there because the England game kicks off at 3 o'clock tomorrow. Best of luck to England, honestly. Yeah, that's it from me for this week. Next week I'll be back, as I say, same time, same place. We'll be back for the July meeting at Newmarket next week, and the July Cup will be the big focus for us next week, one of my favourite races of the year. Okay, have a good weekend. CopaLoadofRacing.